Hi everyone. So you're gonna have to bear with me. I typically have a fantastic camera assistant in my mother, and she is not available to help me record today. So it is all me, one man band here, which is kind of funny. I wanted to talk today about leadership. A good friend and colleague of mine recently asked in a Facebook poll, what to you makes a leader? And he got like 75 responses. He's doing a big presentation in a couple weeks, and he wanted some information just from general public. And the things people wrote were so interesting. There were teachers who wrote that a leader is someone who, like a principal, who backs them no matter the situation. There were things that talked about humility and giving of grace and all those kinds of things. But the thing that I kept seeing was this idea of servant leadership, which is so true, I think. I think that in Mark 10, Jesus is pretty clear about what he expects for us as leaders, or for leaders and Christ followers. And even some of the people who responded to my friend Tyler are not Christian, not church attending, not believers. And they all said a leader is someone, not all of them, most of them said something along the lines of a leader is someone who is willing to do the work, who is willing to be a servant to others, who puts their needs above other people, who cares for their team in whatever capacity that is. And I got to thinking about places in my life that I'm a leader. I am a co-leader with my husband in my home, and I have leadership requirements of myself at work, and I have leadership requirements of myself socially and publicly and those sorts of things. And it got me thinking about, am I emulating servant leadership? And what does that mean when God calls you to servant leadership? How does that look? Who does that, and what is that like? James and John, in Mark 10, James and John asked Jesus if they considered his left and right hand. And he said something, Jesus replied to them with something for the time that was totally radical. And he said, in order to be a follower of Christ and to be a leader, you have to follow a different path than what was laid out in their culture of the day. Anyone who wants to be a leader must be a servant. And this was like in history at a time when there was such a great divide between leadership and the general people and that sort of thing. That had to be super unsettling, because even today, people seek out power. They talk oftentimes about promotions and jumping ahead in their careers and, political gain or social gain or any of those kinds of things. I don't hear people very often, I myself don't say very often, oh, I just really want to be a humble servant. Like that's not our culture here. But what I realized is that we're called to treat people that way. We're called to treat people with respect, especially in a place of leadership. We're called to care for human needs, whatever that is, emotional, social, physical needs of others. We're called, if we want to have any sort of leadership position, to seek the needs of others, sometimes even above our own. So sorry about the bumpy. We're called to lift up others. And I think those are the kind of leadership qualities that I hope to implement in my life and to strive for. And as a mom, those are the leadership qualities I want to instill in my kids, that being at the head of something doesn't mean that everyone else carries the weight. Being in the middle, working your way up to something, doesn't mean that the people behind you are left behind. Like, to use the cliche adage, you're only as strong as your weakest link. That means if there's somebody who is falling behind that is a leader, you go to the back and you help carry them along. And I think right now there's so much unrest in our culture, so much sadness, so much anger and frustration over people who feel like they've been left behind and that nobody's come along from a place of leadership to help carry them along. So as a Christian, maybe it's our time right now to come behind those people and, people financially, emotionally, socially, spiritually and help bring them along. People are looking for something and for someone to help them. And I think God's calling us to that. My prayer for us this week is that we will exercise humility in our places of authority, that we'll see ourselves first as a servant of Christ, not as a leader among others, that we see ourselves as a servant to others and therefore worthy of a place of leadership. That's going to be on my heart. I'm going to try and meditate and pray on that for the week. And for the people in my life who are leaders over me, as far as work and those sorts of things, I will pray that they will be inspired to lead with a humble servant's heart, and that will be unifying. So I hope you all have a great day, a great week. I will be praying for everyone, and hope you have a blessed rest of the week, and I'll see you next week.